Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, jam! Two-hand monster flush! Off the inbound. Ryan, gam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AG Spartan Fan 35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 159th edition of the TFS Pod. Last one of January. Holy crap, this month has flown by. Wow, a lot has happened as usual. Just in the whole wide world of sports, football, basketball, golf, you name it. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to touch on. I saw this before. I thought it was funny. I'm going to say this before I get it. Can there be a father-son duo that wins a Super Bowl like this? Mike Shanahan coached Christian McCaffrey's dad for the Broncos and won 3 Super Bowls. Can his son, Kyle Shanahan, coach McCaffrey's son, Christian McCaffrey, to win a Super Bowl? That'd be pretty crazy.
That is crazy. Hopefully it's not a precursor to the BS that was 2020, the last time these two teams met.
Seriously, that was a great game. So we'll talk more about that.
I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about what
won
the world that year.
I know. I'm saying it was a good game, though. Next week we'll go a lot more in-depth on that, maybe some prop bets that are out there, stuff like that. But we'll start this week with the podium, as we always do. Heard this on the radio yesterday on the way to work and thought it was interesting, and I saw it literally right afterward when I was doing my daily Fox Sports read, ESPN read, Bleacher Report read, seeing, is the home whistle a real thing? And they were alluding to Duke getting favorable calls down the stretch at home against, I think it was Clemson last week. Clemson's coach, Brad Brunell, was hot about it, and John Sherr's like, whoa, we just play with the flow of the game. Yeah, I understand that, but Duke, ever since Coach K, they started winning, it just became a thing that Duke got all the whistles. He intimidated officials just by standing over them, acting as if he's better, just overpowering them really with his influence of, being one of the best coaches of all time. It stuck, and you see it over and over again. Home whistle, home whistle. The team that doesn't get the home whistle, I feel like, is Michigan State. I feel like they usually get because people, they don't like Izzo's complaining, but I think home whistle is a real thing.
There's got to be some metrics on it.
It would probably take a lot of in-depth looking, but I would think so.
I did a little bit of an analysis for the podcast a couple of years ago on the home whistle, remember?
Yeah, I think you
fouls
did.
Called versus not, and I didn't find any huge glaring things, but it definitely feels that way, that's for sure.
It's crazy.
All right, my podium. There's 2 ways I could go, and whatever the second way will just end up being part of what we talk about in the regular lineup anyway. So this one came up on Friday night, lock, stock, and barrel, as I was watching whatever you want to call that, when Michigan State played isn't the word, showed up isn't the word, I don't even know what it was the word, at Wisconsin. Why this is my least favorite Tom Izzo team ever. Now, he's made 20 minus the one COVID year, 27 tournaments in a row, 26 tournaments in a row. This is year 29. His first 2 years NIT. And so I started thinking, okay, his first 2 teams, Judd leftovers mostly, but a couple of his first recruits were pretty much 500 teams that made the NIT. So I got to thinking, do I really dislike this year's team as much as any Izzo team? And I thought about it, and it's hard to dislike any of the Final Four teams, obviously. There's some chemistry issues on teams here or there. But I can't say that I've ever felt in the last 29 years as pissed off, frustrated, and at the same time incredulous, flabbergasted, and just ready to just stop watching as at any point watching Tom Izzo teams. I mean, even his first 2 teams, which struggled including year 2, which is the first year really of the Flintstones, Antonio Smith's second year. So I went back and looked. And I thought I'd do a quick, I don't want to make this a super long podium, but a little quick roster comparison. 1995-96, Izzo's first team. Again, they went probably roughly like 17-15 or something like that. They almost lost to Chaminade in his very first game in the Maui Invitational.
Did lose to Detroit, right?
Leading scorer that year. Yeah, they lost to Detroit 3 years in a row. Quentin Brooks, my boy Q, lived across the hall from me. Rump Shika. He averaged 16.3 points a game and 5.6 boards. I forgot that he was that much of a leading scorer on the team. He's a 6'7", small forward / could play a little bit of power forward. Who is he not better than on this year's team at that position? I mean, Hall is a different kind of player. Hall is probably a better defender, but straight up we'll say that Quentin probably played the 4 at 6'7" for the most part, sometimes the 3. I'd take Q. Second leading scorer, my boy Butch, Jamie Fike, 10.1 points, which is actually lower than I thought. 9.5 rebounds. I would take him over Mahdi. I would take him over Kohler. I would take him over Cooper. I would take him over any big that we have. Lock, stock, and barrel. No way, not even close. Dude was a rebounding machine, went to the NBA and earned contract and earned bank because of his ability to rebound. There's no question I would take Butch. Yeah, my boy Yar, I call him Yar. My buddies know why. Ray Weathers. He was back when Prop 48 was a thing. He had to sit his first year. So this was his senior year. 6'3" guard, 9.7 points, 3 rebounds, 2.3 assists. Not a bad year. He's about equivalent to Akins, to be honest. I mean, Ray probably was not as athletic and probably made more boneheaded mistakes than Akins, but they're a wash. True? Number 4, my boy DB, Damon Bethea, the Fresh Prince. A little banner for him up in the rafters when we had the Pigs pin. 6'7" small forward, 5.5 points, 3.1 rebounds. My boy DB, he I think it was our senior year, so his junior year, hit a game winner against Oklahoma State, Big Country, the team that went to the Final Four that year. Again, at 6'7", what does Michigan State have at that position? Dave and I and Chris and I talk about this all the time. We don't have anybody that is a threat at that position. We just don't have that because Hall is really a 4. He plays a little 3. Cohen Carr is probably maybe going to be a 3, but really he's a 4 for this offense because he can't shoot yet. So I'd take DB over what we got. 5, sophomore guard Thomas Kelly, TK, 5.1 points, 2.2 rebounds. I can tell you he was a walking turnover. If my memory serves me correctly, I probably would not take him over Walker. But I don't know. I probably wouldn't take him over Holloman either. So we'll say that he's a wash. But so far it's 4-1 in favor roster-wise of the 95 team. Now, funny that this fits. I have 2 guys, and Ryan, name them. 2 guys that I have absolutely, hate is a really strong word, so extremely strongly dislike that are Michigan State guys that I would care if they ever wore green and white again in their lives or if they'd ever worn it to begin with, and they are
John Garvalia,
yep,
AJ Hogarth.
And AJ Hogarth. They are a wash. They cancel each other out. Both can GTFO. Can't stand either of you. Can't stand you, Costanza. Now let's throw another freshman at you. 6'8" Antonio Smith. Cornerstone glue guy. There is no way Michigan State guy as a freshman. I mean, what's he compared to? His comp would be like a Booker. Size-wise, his game wasn't the same, but there's no way. Booker is nowhere near where Smith was at that point in time. Then it gets into more, guys like Anthony Mull was a JUCO transfer. He's a guard. He's not any better than Holloman or Walker. Jason Klein was a true freshman, 6'7". He was more of like a guard 2-3, but he was on his way to being better than Akins is now, but he wasn't that then. Mike Respert, Sean's brother, did a little bit for that team. Is he better? He's probably more like a Davis Smith. And my boy Steve Nicodemus was a 6'4" guard. Didn't even average a point a game, but he was probably, I would take him as a walk-on. He wasn't a walk-on, but I would take him in place of some of our walk-ons or guards that sit further down the bench. My boy, Steve Polanowski, didn't average much, 0.5 points, 0.6 rebounds, but he was 6'9" and he was tough as hell. I would take him over Cooper. He could guard. He got in a fight with Maceo Baston in a Michigan State-Michigan game. Go look it up, Google it.
I want to see that.
It was
I
a
wish
headline.
I could see that.
Mo Pete was a freshman on that team. I think he ended up maybe redshirting, but there's no NBA guy on Michigan State's roster like him, is there? arguably at this point in time. Maybe Carr could
Carr
be
in the future if he can get a jump shot.
And then D Hart, my boy, another senior. Like those four seniors, they're all my boys that lived on my floor when I was a freshman. Like, I'm sorry, I would take that roster 16 and 15 or whatever they went over this year's team every day of the week. I mean, I may sprinkle in a Tyson Walker and maybe a Malik Hall to replace a couple of these guys, but that's it. So this is flat out, no matter what happens from here on out, my least favorite Tom Izzo team ever. And I'm pissed off about it because it was supposed to be one of my favorites.
Well, yeah, we were sold a
bill of goods.
Sold a bill of goods. That is correct. Just it's been really rough on all of us. Not the most, just not very likable.
No.
Don't even play hard.
I know that's probably my thing. It's like I said to my boys,
that's,
is like that team wasn't as good, wasn't as overall probably top to bottom talented, but
spots.
they played hard.
Yeah.
And Izzo, if you had today Izzo, well, not today Izzo, if you had year 20 to 25 Izzo with that group, they probably would have been an NCAA tournament team. I think they were pretty talented, actually. He just was learning as a head coach, but
yeah, still young and
So going to tee up, I got to tee up Fox. Like, look, I think they're color commentators that are really, really good at their job
awesome
and insightful at their job are hard to find. Romo was that for a year, and he's kind of whatever, master of the obvious now. Chris, Collinsworth,
he's not
CRIS, Chris, is same. Master of the obvious, just blathers about Mahomes, whether Mahomes is in the game. I don't totally dislike him, but I don't think he's that great. There's guys like Herb Street does okay with Al Michaels.
Charles Davis is probably the best on CBS.
Right. So there's good guys out there. So why in the hell is Fox and tee up Fox for getting rid of Greg Olson, who's really, really good as the A color commentator for an unproven Tom Brady? Oh, because of his name. Especially I see the Tom Brady. I would have gone for the field goals and taken the points and said, really, Tom? So you're going to be just like every other fan and stupid media person who doesn't know Dan Campbell? Like, give some insights, give some player insights. I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not saying that he's not going to be good, but why would you pay him that kind of money and get rid of a guy like Olsen, who hopefully ends up at CBS or NBC because he's really, really good? To me, it's a joke. It's a joke because you're chasing screen time because it's Tom Brady. I really don't. I don't
he's
care
not
what
even personable.
I agree. I don't even care what he has to say. He's not personable. Olsen is. Can you see Tom Brady doing a Terry Bradshaw lookalike thing for a commercial?
No.
I don't think the chemistry is going to be that great because I think that crew is really.
Yeah,
good.
I think Burkhart and him are really good. And even Fox's B group, like Moose Johnson, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, Daryl Johnson.
He's really good. I think Jonathan Vilma's really good. They have a really Schlereth. He does game still a little bit, right?
Yep.
I mean, they have a good lineup.
So if you're going to keep him and put him on the B, make sure we get him as the Lions because we usually get Moose, and Moose is good. But he's running something big for the UFL now, so I didn't know that. I don't know if he's going to be the announcer anymore.
Good for him.
So tee up Fox for being dumbasses and getting rid of Olsen for an unproven Tom Brady who nobody outside of Ann Arbor really actually likes, or New England.
You're right. Well, they don't like him anymore.
All right, spot number one and
CBB.
Yeah, college basketball.
And Tuesday last week. Was it a week ago that we did it? I think it was.
I think we did. Let me throw in our ad real quick. Spot one in our Big Ten Power Rankings are presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years of experience in sports sponsorship and much more. Learn more about them today at norrissportsgroup.com.
All right. Let's talk some college basketball since we last met with you. What was it? Tuesday. Looking back on the week, so I think in Big Ten play that night, Wisconsin hardly beat Minnesota. Minnesota furious comeback. They're not there yet. I think Ben Johnson coming into the season, he was on a hot seat. He's kind of proven that he's picked Minnesota back up, and they've been competitive. They have some good young guys.
They were down like 15 at the half against Penn State, and they came back and won.
I mean, they're solid. Nebraska's really good at home. How about this for road splits? I don't think this is almost correct. They're 5-0 at home in the Big Ten play. I think they're second in like adjusted efficiency wise, offensive and defensively. And on the road, 0-5, 14th in the Big Ten. So they're literally one of the best teams in the Big Ten, and then they're the worst on the road. So that's pretty crazy. But they're having a decent season, trying to get to the tournament for the first time in a long time since I think Miles was there. A team that's really woken up in the last 2-3 weeks. I don't know how Michigan State beat them was Maryland. They've gotten back into it.
Yeah, 13-8, 5-5 overall.
You know, a team on the outside looking in right now on the bubble, and I think they can get there with good play. Northwestern, they beat another great team at home. Boo Booey, I hate him, but good Lord, he is a baller. He's a Spartan killer. That's why I don't like him, but
15-5, 6-3, and they've got a lot of good wins. They have more good wins than Michigan State.
Illinois.
Yeah,
they're really good. They're really.
They have one horrible loss, Chicago State, but the rest of they're loaded with big wins.
Yeah, they beat Purdue at home,
Illinois,
beat Illinois,
Maryland.
They beat Maryland. I mean, they're solid. That is a solid ball club. And I think aside from Purdue, I mean, we obviously know Purdue's a really good team. They can hit you. I think Lance Jones is the difference on that team this year. I think if they had him last year, they could have gone far. He's a guy that can play defense, make shots. He's athletic to complement Smith, who has improved drastically. Lawyer's about the same. I don't know if he's gotten much better. Edey's just a cheat code. It's a three-headed monster for them, and then maybe put Lawyer in there for 4. Good compliment, but they're really good. Wisconsin, to me, is the second most impressive team.
And they're leading the Big Ten, and they're close to number 1.
Last year they were very underwhelming. Lost a lot of close games. Were kind of dinged up. They're really good. They can score. They defend. They rebound. They have bigs. They have guards.
Here's the thing: is their offense is way better than their defense this year, which is the opposite of the usual.
Not normal for them. Hepburn, who has been one of their leading scorers the last 2 seasons, he hardly shoots the ball anymore. He just plays good defense and distributes.
Like Izzo said this after his press conference, Mateen gradually averaged less too, and sometimes less means more wins because you don't have to be the guy that, early in Mateen's career he had to score.
He had to.
But then when you can be a distributor and you can be a defender and then you can be a difference maker when you need a big shot, which we saw time after time Mateen was good at. I'm not suggesting he's as good at that, but it was a great comp, I thought, by Izzo because it just extremely similar pathway. In Wisconsin, look, we'll talk more about Michigan State in the state of the state. Wisconsin's a really good team. Now, that notwithstanding,
AJ
Michigan
Storr
State played
is
like garbage in that game, but they're a really nice team.
He's really good. Crowell's really good.
No, they haven't played Purdue yet.
They play
Sunday, once or twice.
Sunday at noon or at 1. I don't know if they play them once or twice. Let me check.
I mean, it's pretty much you got 8-1, 8-2, 6-3, 6-3 in the top 4 spots, and then you from 5
they got
through
them
10
twice. They got them this weekend, and then in the last game of the season.
So, that'll be good. That could be for the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Then 5 through 10, because I think Crowell can battle with Edey a little bit. 5 through 10, you got Nebraska, Maryland, Minnesota, Iowa, Michigan State. Iowa's getting throttled right now by Indiana, and then and Indiana. 5-5 or 4-5, like a mishmash of which probably 2, maybe 3 teams make the tournament in there. Ryan went through, what Nebraska's doing. I think out of that group, Maryland's playing really well. Minnesota's playing really well. Michigan State took a giant step back at Wisconsin. Hasn't had a really good, solid, except for Baylor, hasn't had a good
The best wins are Baylor
and haven't had a road.
Baylor, Maryland, and Indiana State are your best wins.
Right. Ohio State's really struggling, 13-7, 3-6. They're neck and neck with Illinois right now at the moment. Penn State is one of those teams that I like. Like they blew a 15-point lead the other day. Like I think they could be good, but they just can't get over the hump. Rutgers and Michigan are garbage. Michigan especially. Michigan's actually Penn State's 9-11 too, but Michigan's the only team with a losing record overall at 7-13 aside from Penn State. So I think the top 4 is runaway heads and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah. It's not even close.
And it's not even close. Like 5 through 10, those teams will jockey around, and it'll depend. Somebody could get hot. Come Minneapolis for the Big Ten tournament. It'll make for an interesting stretch run as the calendar turns to February this week, and then we get to March. We're only 50 days from
less than 50.
Sunday,
I think
or 48 now.
47.
48 days, 47 days
now.
Selection Sunday. So that'll be crazy. My weekly Ken Palm review, again, teams in the top 40 on offense and top 22 on defense have won every natty. it won the Natty every year since it's been in place. So since 2002, obviously this flows every week. Like, for example, I think a team or so dropped out this week falls into that category, and 2 were added. So your latest update, as if the tournament started today, Purdue is number 2 offense, 13 defense. Arizona 5-16. Auburn 18-5, slipped a little bit last week. North Carolina 14-3, improving. Houston number 17 offense, number 1 defense. Defense travels. Tennessee number 19-2. I think they're stayed about the same. Shockingly, Michigan State's still in there, 34th on offense, 21st on defense, just hanging by a thread, despite giving up an 80 burger to Wisconsin. Marquette's right there, 35th offense, 14th defense. 2 new adds, New Mexico. Dick Pitino, 37 and 20.
Guess what? Guess what they have? 3 former high major guards that didn't pan out that are hooping.
Yep, and that's like a Florida Atlantic situation.
The Mountain West is better than the Big Ten.
Creighton is the last one at 39 and 15, and then I would say in the don't count them out, UConn, third number 3 offense, number 23 defense. I mean, if you've watched them play, they're pretty hands down in my book the best team, and I would not be shocked if they repeat. BYU 8-24, and in fact, if UConn stayed 3-23, they could break the mold of the Ken Pom stat, and then we'd never talk about it again. BYU's close, number 8 offense, number 24 defense, sneaking up in the Big 12.
Good coach.
Wisconsin's a little further off in their defense, but they're 4th in offense. 4th in offensive efficiency, which is crazy. 43rd on defense. Illinois, a little bit better, not on offense. They're 7th, 30th on defense, so they're a little closer. And then Kansas is 24-25, so they're right in the mix too.
I'm going to look to see what Wisconsin was on offense last year. I think it was like it was,
they got guys that can shoot.
Guess what they were last year on offense?
60s, 70s,
140th.
Wow,
and they're 4th.
They got guys that can it. Like a Wall is another guy. He's a great example of early in his career, he had to be the guy to get all the points and stuff, and now he can do the dirty work, and he still can go on a little scoring.
He can score, gets rebounds, plays.
Crowell, I think, is the second best big man in the Big Ten behind Edey. He's got really good moves. He's a big dude. They've got shooters. Their defense is actually, it kind of sometimes goes hand in hand, but their defense has slipped back a little bit. But I think Wisconsin can shore that up, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do, down the stretch here. So going back to this, we'll ask this question every week. Has it adjusted for you? I think you said 7 for Big Ten teams.
6 or 7.
I still think it's right in there.
I'll tell you the teams that I would not want to play in March right now. North Carolina, R.J. Davis, he might be National Player of the Year. That guy's a stud.
Yeah, what a bounce back for them.
Yeah, they're playing really well. UConn is awesome. I'm talking non-Big Ten here. A surprising team this year is Texas Tech. Brand new coach. Last year they had that turmoil, firing their coach, saying that he was abusive, whatever. And this guy, Grant McClellan, came from North Texas. He's done a really good job there, and they're going to probably get a top 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. Crazy. The Pac-12's terrible. Probably get 1 or 2 teams in. There's rumor the ACC only gets 2 or 3 in. I think the Big Ten. The Big Ten's not great. It's pretty weak. Probably the weakest it's been in the last 7 or 8 years, to be honest with you. But it's going to be interesting. The Mountain West is better than the Big Ten, ACC, and Pac-12. Honestly, it might go Big 12, Big East than them, or SEC than them. It's pretty crazy. Fun though. I don't think I have anything else college basketball wise.
No, me neither.
This brings us to our mailbag section / hodgepodge. Got a lot. Mitch-a-pa-looza, my man. Great questions flowing in. Always love to hear those. And we'll attack those in the next few weeks. So what do you have for...
Well, we got plenty there. We can nail them all. So I'm looking up Uncle Bob's question. Long-time listener, first-time question asker. The Lions have not had an assistant be hired directly as a head coach since Chuck Knox in 1973, UB. Your question was,
wow.
Have the Lions, and he ended up being a pretty damn good one, have the Lions ever had an assistant hired? Because we're talking, obviously, AG and Ben Johnson. Great news, it's more NFL, but Johnson decided to stay. He said nope to the Redskins / Commanders and Seahawks. Staying with the Lions, huge for continuity. So Mitch's number one question was, assuming we lose one, if not both coordinators, who's on your list for replacements? We don't have to answer it for
Ben Johnson.
Ryan, you had an answer if AG left for some reason, but he's probably not going to get one of those head coaching jobs, is he?
Washington came to visit him today, so I wouldn't mind. DC, I'd want like Wink Martindale or like a Mike Vrabel. Why the hell not?
Yeah,
for a year, might as well get him for a rental.
I mean, get him for a year and put some more pieces in place. Look, Campbell was rightfully down. When we'll talk more in the NFL, was rightfully down after the loss. And he's like, it's really hard to get back here. I don't know if we'll ever get back here. Again, we'll talk about the Lions are built to get there. So if you can get a few more pieces in there to kind of sustain some things and shore things up, a guy like a Vrabel would be huge for sure. Another question from Mitch-a-pa-looza. I like this one. Top 5 all-time likable MSU Spartans between basketball and football.
Kirk Cousins,
lock, stock, and barrel number 1. Drew Neitzel.
Yeah, Neitzel up there.
Always liked Drew Neitzel. Drew Neitzel also talked nicely about Ryan when he would do his high school games on the radio.
Yeah, those are 2 good ones. I would put Matt Costello up there for me. He's just a goofball.
Yeah,
good guy. He's a good guy.
I would say he was a likable dude.
Football.
For me personally, of course, I knew those guys that I rattled off in my podium. Like genuinely a good guy, minus Polo. Damon Bethea, he was just a good dude. Like I remember when he was having some struggles as a I think he was a freshman and I was a sophomore when we had the Prince's Palace, and I would walk back from games like I don't know if I fit or whatever. And I mean he ended up being a good solid player for Michigan State. He's a really good human being, so I would put him up there in my top 5 likable. Trying to think of any other football guys that are in the realm of like a Cousins. I think Mike Sadler would have been on there.
Sadler, yep, he's a good one.
Sadler was a great dude. Trying to think of anybody else that really stands out as we got to meet like Travis Walton.
Yeah, T-Dub's a good
T-Dub
Greg
was a good
Jones,
guy.
He was kind of Javon Ringer.
Yeah. We met Javon once before. He was a good dude. We took Travis and Marquise Gray out for lunch after they did an autograph signing. They were both really good dudes. And Travis ended up helping me out with a little bit of training and stuff. So, yeah, I think a pretty good list. I mean, we've been pretty fortunate. I think a guy like Keith Nickel, another good guy.
Yep. Adrian Payne, all-time good guy.
Yep. With his all the Lacey stuff, and then R.I.P. AP. But Keith Nickel, right? Like he embraced getting beaten out by a 2-star and Kirk Cousins when he was a 5-star, and became a receiver. And I've got a great picture of him flipping B.J. Cunningham.
Such a good football player.
He caught the rocket, the Hail Mary.
Lots of big
he ended up
touchdowns.
being a good. Like he took one for the team, so I would put him there too. So. Mitch, good question. I'd like to know your top 5
Blair White.
all time. Yeah, Blair White, another one. Give him to Ryan. Let's hear your top 5. The fortunate thing for us is because between bowl games and me knowing some players and stuff, we've gotten to meet a lot of these guys over time. Pretty cool. Chris Hill, another one for me. I really like Chris Hill too.
Yeah.
If you could take one skill from MSU's starting 5 players, so their center, and pass it to another player, who and what would it be? And he says, I would take Sissoko's athleticism, not his hands, and give him to Kohler to shore up this 5 spot for sure.
How about you take Trey Holloman's brain and put it in Hogarth's? Then we're talking.
Yes, that's a good one.
He'd be unstoppable.
He would.
Honestly, he would.
He really would. I would take.
Or want.
I would take. Oh, who's it? Do we have anybody that's got any heart? I think
Hall does.
Hall does. I would take Hall's heart, and I'd give it to Walker because Walker's got the skills to be the man every game. And look, I'm dogging him a little bit. He hasn't played well. He's 3rd in the Big Ten in scoring. But he's not played very well lately. He's kind of disappearing, beneath the fog lately, and Michigan State cannot afford that. So, great question. I don't know that there's any redeeming qualities of, I guess, Mahdi is athletic. He works hard, and he had his. He's
strong.
I think he's a good person, but
he's a great guy.
Cooper's got good motor, but like neither of those guys are nowhere polished enough. Like maybe Cooper's feet are better than Kohler. No, Kohler's got great feet. Never mind, forget that. Cooper's a better rebounder. I don't take Cooper's rebounding and give it to Kohler.
How about this one? Just a heads up for all those betting on the Michigan State game, might change your thoughts. Questionable for the game tonight, Steven Izzo.
Damn it.
Broke his pinky. I'm just kidding. I don't know what happened to him. It's kind of funny.
All right. So those are Mitch's questions and UB's question. Let's see. Actually, no, Mitch has some more questions he gave to me. Let me find them. I didn't get a chance to transfer them to my notes. All right. So he says, Mitch-a-pa-looza says, draft either Cooper DeJean from Iowa or Kool-Aid McKinstry in round 1 in April. Change my mind.
Yeah, I think him and then Mitch and I talked at lunch earlier. Kamari Lassiter from Georgia. Those three guys, if you think those are guys that can slot in and be your second or third corner runner, you have to trade up to get him. If you think you have capital.
Cooper's not a safety. I thought he was a safety.
He plays corner and safety.
Okay. He'd be a white corner for that white versus black, all NFL team.
I mean,
held a punt returner too.
Those guys are really
Cooper
good.
DeJean. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think we can talk more in the NFL and as we get closer to the draft, what the Lions need to kind of patch things up.
Yeah.
And what you're going to be able to get at that point in the draft. Dauber made a good point. It's a lot different for the Lions.
Lowest draft position ever.
From picking top 5, top 10 all the time to picking 29. Now they have a lot of picks in the first 3 rounds, and where the Lions have made
4 or 5, I think.
Where the Lions have made hay is really in the second, third round. Honestly, obviously they've had some good first rounders too, but
I trust Brad Holmes.
But I think they're in a good spot for sure, and hopefully can get one of those guys because those are the type of guys that you need that can step in and make a difference. His next Mitch-a-pa-looza question: what does your golf extension look like?
I'd probably give him 4 for 200 mil. That's
he's
20 mil.
He's 29 years old. He's not currently one of the top paid. At the time when he got a $110 million guaranteed contract, it was the highest contract. I don't think he's going to be like, hey, I got to get paid, Burrow and Mahomes and whatever money.
I mean, you got to give him 50 because the market shifts. At one point, Matthew Stafford was the highest paid quarterback in the league for the Lions, and then he became the 10th.
Yeah.
The market shifts. I think, 4 for 50 mil a year, so 4-year, $200 million.
Or 3 with a 4th year option. I mean, that puts him into his early mid-30s.
Yeah, and then you can...
clearly... the scheme and stuff helped him, but he also came back into his confidence. I don't think he had a turnover in the playoffs in 3 games.
No, he played phenomenally.
And he made some good throws against the 49ers that guys just dropped, right? Is he athletic enough in the pocket for my liking? No, not really, but there's not a ton of quarterbacks.
Yeah, losing games.
I'm kind of with you. I'm give him market value. Don't make him the highest paid quarterback, but I think he's in a 3.
They're going to have to give him
3+ a year or a 4 year.
I'd like them to get this done sooner than later because there's a rumor that the Packers are going to try to pay Jordan Love some big money, and if he's commanding big money, Goff's going to
command. Love has not even a true. I mean, he has a year under his belt, but let's hope that's a flash in the pan. And Mitch-a-pa-looza's last question of the week. State will lose how many games the rest of the regular season? My hope is 3. My guess is 5.
11 to go. 7-4. I'm going to go with. I think that
too. I think Illinois and Purdue. Illinois is winnable.
Purdue, Indiana. Then you lose a team to a team you should.
I don't think Purdue is winnable at all.
Illinois is winnable.
Indiana is winnable, but it's not an easy place to play.
Win it.
They're beating Iowa by 14 right now.
Don't win at Assembly.
Do we play at Iowa or at
home against Iowa?
Okay, because Iowa is hard to play away.
Play Ohio State at home. You get the road games. We don't have a ton. I mean, I think it's Michigan, Minnesota, Penn State, Purdue, and Indiana.
Minnesota, I think, is probably beside Purdue is the toughest road.
Yeah, but we match up well with them. They don't really concern me.
At the way they played on Friday, Mitch, I mean, I could see 6-5. I think I'm with Ryan. I think more 7-4, and I think they could go 8-3, maybe even 9-2.
I think 9-2 is doable.
I think Illinois is the best chance to get a big win left on the schedule. They played them tough at Illinois. Now that was without Shannon, so we'll see. But things have got to change for Michigan State to get there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that's Hodgepodge Mailbag. Unless you got any more, Mitch. Always love your questions. Keep them coming. We've had other listener feedback that your questions are the best. So. Keep them coming, Chris. You're lagging here a little bit. You give me 1 or 2 once in a while, but mostly you're sending me TikTok. So you need to come up with
Columbus.
You need to come up with some good ones, all right? Or Daub, UB came to the fray. That was good. Not necessarily an opinion question, but it was still a good question. Made us do a little bit of homework, so that was good stuff. All right, spot number 3, golf.
Let's go. Torrey Pines this weekend. That was fun.
Yeah, love
good
Torrey
tournament.
Pines.
Pavone, rookie on the PGA Tour.
One of the hottest guys in golf right now.
Yeah, played great. The Sony were like, who the heck is this guy? Like, never heard of him. He was on DP. You had to birdie like
4 holes in a row
to get a tour card.
Yep.
For the PGA Tour this season. He's really good. He wears like the long sleeves under his thing. Turned into a nice play.
First Frenchman ever to win on the PGA Tour.
Played really well at Torrey.
And played really well despite trying to step on his you-know-what down the stretch. He takes a 3-putt bogey on, well, I guess it was a 2-putt bogey. No, I don't know if it was a 3-putt. Anyway, he took a bogey on 17 and then puts it in the face of the trap. Then he puts it in the spinach with water to carry on a tight front pin on 18. But he stuck it and he made the putt, and with some pressure on him from Hojgaard. So, hats off. And like we talked about this a little bit before, if these guys, Hatton's the latest, that wanted to go to live, I don't care. Go. Nobody's going to hear from you or see you again except from the majors because your stuff's not on TV. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares about your gimmicky golf. I don't care because I read a good story about this in Golf Magazine. Yes, stars are helpful. But really, aside from Tiger, and okay, Rory's got some star power, but Rory wasn't even likable early in his career when he was winning, and then he like jilted his bride. Then bride, I think it was Caroline.
Yeah, he did that a couple times.
At the altar, like broke off the engagement late in the game. Like he wasn't likable until he defended the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour thrives on stories, like Kirk. And like, who was the winner at Sony? The other guy,
Grayson Murray. Yeah, and Dunlap.
fall from grace and rise back up. Woodland with his thing. This Pavone guy and the way that he had to play just to get into the PGA Tour. Like, PGA thrives on human interest stories. I don't really think most fans care. They just want to see good competitive golf, and they want to be able to relate to guys. Like that's what they want. Back in the day. Even though Phil is a steaming pile of you-know-what, his thumbs up and his grins and the gambler in him made everybody like him, right? Like, because people could relate to that. And I think people can relate to the stories. Nobody cares, honestly, that Rahm and those guys are gone. I don't care. Like, they're going to show up in the majors and we still get to see them. Like, I just don't care. That was good golf. Like, I didn't turn on... I was watching golf over something the other day. I was watching golf over a basketball game, I think, because it was better, in my opinion. So, I like the Farmers. Now we got the Pebble. How do we do with our picks for the Farmers?
Mine combined 88th, and by one guy missed the cut. You had both guys miss the cut.
Yikes!
Not a great week for us.
No, not
bring
a
us
great
into
week.
an elevated event at one of the best golf courses in the world, Pebble Beach Golf Links. AT&T. It's going to be a good one. There's a lot. Everyone
looking through
playing.
the list, right? Yeah,
it's a hell of a lineup. Tough decisions here. My 2 picks. My flyer isn't even a flyer. I think Thigala. He's been playing well. He's a Cali kid. My other one's Hovland. He won the AM there, I think, in 2018. He's due for a big one.
The one dude that made I think it was the third guy that was playing in that threesome in the last group at Torrey ended up making a birdie and got his high school teammate Keith Mitchell into the tournament. And Mitchell actually, I think, has done well there in the past. I'm going to go with Ricky, and I'm going to go with. I'm trying to look for a guy that I think has done well there before. I'm going to go with Matt Fitzpatrick.
All right. Fitz. Does he sell the braces?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he sells his braces or not.
All right, that's picks right there. Yeah, it should be fun. Keep an eye on that one this weekend with no football.
All right, and the golf fun one from TikTok this week. You can pick only 2. 1, play a round with your favorite TikTokers. 2, free Callaway golf clubs for life. 3, play a round with Rory McIlroy. 4, free 5-day golf trip with the boys. 5, play Augusta but by yourself. Or 6, never 3-putt again.
Number 6, then the 3-putt one, then free 5-day golf trip with the boys. That sounds heavenly.
No 3-putt sounds great, but there would be nothing to bitch about then. So I'm going to go free golf trip, and I'm going to go with free golf clubs for life. I do like the Callaway clubs. We had a dog named Callaway for a reason. So, all right, moving on. Oh, before we do, a word from our presenting sponsor, Team Anders Realty, will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com.
The state of state.
State of MSU, first of all, for football, because there's less and less football. Walk-on tryouts in February, informational meeting this week. Make sure you go. I'm thinking about it because I could probably make more in NIL money as like the storied 51-year-old making a return to football. Never played a down of organized football in my life. I could make more in NIL than I do when I'm working my ass off at my job all the time. I was talking about that with somebody at work today.
You should. Michigan State football trending.
I could be like the kid that plays blind.
Yeah, playing football blind.
What is going on?
Michigan State picks up a commitment from 6'4" Texas receiver Jalen Brown, I believe his name. Very under the radar, underrated recruit. Michigan Hawk kind of found him. Dude is a freak athlete. He's fast. Michigan State's gone into Texas lately and gotten some steals for receivers. It's interesting. I think he could be really good down the line. Just get some good coaching by Hawk. That'd be fun. Apparently on commit watch for a couple defensive tackles for this class.
Demetrius Martin comes in and he's offering 5-star DBs galore.
Doing really well. And I saw this on CBS. I saw it on ESPN. I saw it on something else. Just saying, what college football programs are on the rise, have bright futures, and Michigan State is on every list that I've seen. We love to see that. That's just due to coaching and scheme and having good assistant coaches, recruiting your OKGs. And the Michigan State did have a talented roster. I think Tucker did bring in some talented guys. They just had shit for
zero coaches. Yeah,
I mean they didn't have anybody that could put them in the right position. I think with correct coaching, I think next year Michigan State can be I don't know if they'll win a lot of games. I think they can make a bowl game.
Tough schedule.
They're going to be a fun team to watch, and they're going to get better and better. And I think 2025 they have a chance to take off with a full recruiting cycle. Under the new coaching staff, a whole year of getting to know the system, and it could be fun.
And a sophomore quarterback who becomes a junior. They're going to be a pretty young team.
I'm very optimistic and excited about Michigan State football. And it's only January 30th. It's only going to grow.
I wish I could say the same about Michigan State basketball.
Yeah, Michigan State basketball just, we played one game last week. Just uninspiring.
Extremely disappointing.
You can, like you said, you can tell in the first 5 minutes how the game's going to go. You knew bricking wide open shots, not getting rebounds.
Tyson hitting the side of the backboard.
It's going to be bad. And just, I get it. Marty tries really hard. He's not good. Cooper tries
right, and Tom saying we didn't know until after, and he didn't tell anybody that he had a death in the family, and I didn't realize his father died earlier in the year too. That's terrible. But look, Marty can play like that whether that happens or not, and that's not why you lost. You lost because if AJ leads you in scoring, and by the way, I'm dying to find a good plus minus. He was minus 10 right out of the gate. On Friday night in the start of the second half. He is the biggest liability on defense, and when he does make points, he has 19 points the other night.
He lets Storr get going.
He lets the other team get going, and it's a complete wash, and it's usually a negative. Walker has disappeared lately. He hit the big three.
Akins has been
at the end of the Maryland game. Akins has been horrible. The only guy that's been consistently good, and we've been begging for it for 5 years, is Hall.
Yeah,
he started a little bit rough and had some fouls, but he played hard. I don't know why he just refuses to play Booker. He refuses to play Carr.
Here's my
Holloman had a bad game the other night, but
my biggest question is, I get matchups, whatever. What in the absolute hell are these lineups where you're putting Mady Sissoko and Carson Cooper on the floor? I mean, you're playing 3-on-5. You're tying.
You don't have offense. If you're going to do that, and you're going to
It's a liability on defense.
At least get guys that can score. Like Booker might be a liability on defense. He can score the basketball for you. Kohler had a great move in that game. He can score the basketball. Start playing those guys more and get Carr in there for energy. Like I get it. You want to bring these freshmen along slow. Hopefully Fears will be back this year. Holloman hopefully won't have another dud game like that. That was kind of a very freshman type game for him. Like grades, Mana wanted us to do grades because she likes grades. So let's just run through them real quick. Hogard, I'm sorry.
Hogard, F.
I give Hogard an F. He is not the kind of leader. He's not a leader at all. He's not what you need one of your, if not your best player to be. He's just not. You can look at stats all you want. And you can tell me, yeah, but his assist to turnover ratio Michigan State doesn't turn the ball over as much this year. That's great. But if you can't play defense and you can't rebound as a 6'4" guard, I don't want you on my team.
But here's the thing.
I don't want you on my team.
Tom continues to compliment him in his press conference yesterday. He said he's come a long way on offense. His defense, when he puts in the effort, it's good.
But he doesn't put in the effort.
No, when does he put in the effort?
Here's my beef. I'm going to give Izzo a D this year, and here's why. Number one, he sold us. He sold us that Michigan State was going to be good, and Ryan said it. He's gone soft. He uses the excuse, well, I can't talk to guys the same way. Bullshit, Tom. You're a coach.
That's
you demand
you
respect. It's got you to where you are. If your players don't understand that, then go recruit other guys. Recruit guys that'll take that.
Exactly.
Because that is part of the problem is you're coddling to the AJs and you're not holding them to the same standard. Don't you ever compare a guy to Mateen Cleaves or Cassius Winston or Denzel Valentine or any of those guys again when you don't expect the same thing out of them that you did that. If Mateen Cleaves back in those days and your coaching then had played the way that AJ does now, his ass would have been on the bench.
Yep.
He would have been on the bench. Stop coddling him. So Izzo, I'm going to give a D. I'm going to give Walker a C minus. Like, okay, statistically, again, having a good year, but he's been disappearing lately. I don't know if it's fatigue. I don't know if it's just that he's hurt. If he misses a couple shots, he turtles up. Like whatever happened to the old notion that shooters shoot your way out of a slump. He's been disappointing. Holloman, I'm going to give a solid B plus A minus. I think he's above where I thought he would be. He's really improved his stroke. He's become a good shooter. He's a valuable defender. I like Holloman. He had a little bit of a setback again in the Wisconsin game, but he's a plus guy.
I found the plus minus from that game. I don't know if you're a Holloman truther, you want to hear what his plus minus
I want to hear his plus minus. He was bad that game.
Holloman was minus 21 in 17 and a half minutes.
Yeah, he was bad that game.
Hogard was minus 13 in 30 minutes.
I would have expected it.
Walker was only minus 3. Sissoko actually was plus 2 in 22 minutes on the court.
Interesting.
The only other positives on the court for Michigan State in that game were Cohen Carr plus 4 in 12 minutes, Xavier Booker plus 1 in 6 minutes.
That was the quietest 12 minutes. I don't even remember Carr playing 12 minutes.
Correlation.
What about Hall?
Minus 10. But he also
so I'll give you Holland was horrible in that game, but I'll give him a B plus. I think he's been really good, especially given the fact that he's had to step up and play more
he's
with Fears going out.
Tougher role.
He was taken a little bit out of that role where he could focus on one spot, and he's had to kind of float between two spots. Hall, I'll give an A. Hall, we've been dogging him for years. He had the horrible game against Northwestern, and he has rebounded, and he's been the glue guy ever since. So I will give Hall an A. Sissoko's a C. Look, I'm not going to give him an F because he is what he is. I'll give the coaches an F minus for not recruiting better guys to play the 5 or going out into the transfer portal.
Damaged goods, you mean?
Cooper was meant to be a preferred walk-on, right? Like he was meant to be kind of a project.
He was meant to be 10 to 12 minutes a game.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes a game. So whatever. It's not his fault either. I give him a C. I mean, he misses a lot of bunnies. A lot of guys on the team miss a lot of bunnies.
Kohler
is incomplete. I'd like to see him being. How many minutes did he play in that game? I'd like to see Kohler playing 10. At least like 15 to 20 minutes a game, just for the offense. Booker, I got to give it incomplete because Izzo will lie to you and tell you he's going to play, and then he doesn't play. Till
practice is
time.
Really hard.
Well, we've heard that before. And Carr, I'm going to give Carr a B. I think he needs an outside shot and whatever else, but he'll develop that as time goes on. He's got a great motor. He doesn't complain. He doesn't boast when he jumps out of the gym. He doesn't talk trash. Like AJ spends all his time talking trash and chirping. Carr is just all business. Has room for improvement for sure, but I like him. And I think that pretty much hits the main roster. Yeah. And I contend too, Normand, if he was that good,
he'd be playing.
I'm not saying that he's not going to be plus guy for Michigan State, but
Yeah,
I'm really nervous, to Dave and Chris's point. Michigan State has a quasi big guy coming in next year.
He's a
more
4.
like a 4. And then they've got 2 more small wings, 6'4".
Well, we have a
2-guard wing type.
Jace Richardson's 6'2". He's a combo guard. Kurt Tang's 6'4", strong, but he's a guard.
They're small. Michigan State, like I said, when I compared to the 95-96 roster, doesn't have 6'7" guys that can shoot.
We're trying.
They can't shoot the post open. They can't shoot to cover other guys' sins.
He's gonna have to go in the portal and get a guy that can play 3 and 4 and a 5 that can.
You got fears that can distribute, and you don't have guys that can
play
shoot
defense.
They're going after one more high school guy in
2024. Bryson Tucker's his name. He's from DC area. Played at IMG. Transferred back home. 6'7" wing, top 25 player. It's down to Michigan State, Kansas, in the G League.
Kansas will give him more money,
but the rumor is G League. If you get a guy like that, his comp is Max Christie, but he's a better shooter and a better defender.
Hell, go get Max Christie's brother.
Yeah, well, we didn't want him because that's more because the relationship with Tom and Christie wasn't great. He wasn't great. Christie wasn't all he was cracked up to be. No. But I found a plus minus from the Northwestern game. I was interested. Jaden Akins in that game in 31 and a half minutes against Northwestern was minus 32.
Wow. What was Hall? He had to have been pretty bad too.
He was minus 11. And Sissoko was
even
minus
though he had
14.
a goose egg. Huh. Interesting.
Yikes. Is all I can say.
Interesting.
I don't think I have anything else Michigan State-wise. I'm trying to think if anything else came up.
Big game tonight, 9 o'clock on the cock.
You shout out Michigan State hockey split with Minnesota. Comeback victory. Awesome. Stay in the top 10. Maybe they can make a run in the NCAA tournament. How about this? 10, right? We don't talk about women's basketball because we don't really care about it too much. Michigan State women are right now in the bracketology for women for women's college.
Michigan
First year coach from Bowling Green. They're kicking ass. Good for them.
Yep,
I'm happy for them.
Had a good crowd against them.
Yeah,
against
good for
Michigan
them.
Too. We could tee up fan storms for the girl who just absolutely trucked Caitlin Clark the other day. It was not on purpose, but that was pretty gross too. So, all right, spot number 5, elephant in the room. Really quickly, Chiefs Ravens was kind of a no-win. Didn't want to hear the whole Harbaugh BS, but I was definitely rooting for them because I can't stand the Chiefs. I'm so tired of Travis Pfizer. Kelsey and Taylor Biden. Taylor Swift. It's nauseating. It's just like I'm done. I'm so over that.
It's not even a great Chiefs team either. That's the thing. Like it's not the one from last year, even the other few years.
So they're doing it with defense. And Spagnuolo's doing a really good job.
Good.
Their offense is.
Can we stop the shtick with Lamar Jackson? He sucks. He is he didn't win any game that matters.
I'm telling you, like we've talked about this before on the podcast. That splash and dash during the season is great, but when push comes to shove, all you need to be able to do is step in the pocket and deliver throws and scramble a little bit when you need to, like Brock Purdy did. Like is Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson? No, but he burned the Lions with his legs enough to keep things
even
honest.
Mahomes, he does that too. He doesn't.
Right, and he's not. And Mahomes isn't. He's faster, probably, and more athletic. But true running quarterbacks. That's why Josh Allen, I think, same thing. Like he's more of a better passer, I think, than Jackson is. But great. Yeah, I don't want to hear 2 weeks of that. I am disappointed that we're not going to hear it from a Lions perspective. Ron, let me go first, and then I'll get your take. It's one of those things is like I've always said on the podcast, Chris reminded me I disavowed being a Lions fan when they drafted Hutchinson. I will say this. Hutchinson was a no-show minus those 2 batted passes.
2 good plays.
Versus Mr. Irrelevant in the same draft. Yep. Second pick, last pick fried him and burned him a couple times.
Well, he was on his ass from Kittle a bunch of times.
Right, yeah, like absolutely pancaked. So, look, I went into that game expecting that the Lions could win. I thought they probably had a very good, at least a 50% chance of winning, and they showed that they could. I think that Ben Johnson's game plan was
first half was phenomenal.
The only play call that I can complain about is why he ran it on third down inside of a minute when they needed all 3 timeouts to have a prayer. Like that was dumb. I get trying to catch him off guard, but that was just way too risky at that point in time. That's the only questionable thing that I'm going to call in that game. I thought the Lions were prepared. They jumped on San Francisco early, and they put San Francisco in a spot that San Francisco usually sucks in. San Francisco is now 2-19 when they are down 7+ points in a game under going into the second quarter or later under Shanahan. They've won the last 2 games in a row where they came from behind, whereas before I think they were 0-30 when they came from behind of more than 10 points, double digits under Shanahan. So, hey, hats off to San Francisco. Super talented team.
Yeah, they're awesome.
What I will say is that Purdy, Goff I would argue is better, but Purdy had a nice game. They're a wash. Samuel, great, and Ayuk is great, but the Lions have Amon-Ra. The Lions have
J-Mo
J-Mo played well. He dropped the 1 touchdown pass, but they're younger and I think just as good. Kittle versus Laporta. Kittle's good, but I'd take Laporta. Kittle's maybe a little bit better blocker at this point in time, but Laporta's a rookie. McCaffrey, phenomenal. Lions have 2 of that. Montgomery and Gibbs. So all pregame, I got tired of hearing about how, San Francisco got weapons, Detroit's got to shut down. No, we saw firsthand San Francisco had to stop Detroit's weapons. And ultimately, it was Detroit that stopped itself.
Yeah,
so
it was all mental errors.
So I'm going to ask you this question. To me, it's rhetorical, but was it Campbell's fault or the player's fault that Reynolds dropped the 4th down pass on the first 4th down conversion that they went to?
I don't think that you could have drawn up a better play call.
Was it?
He was wide
and Goff
open.
Even stepped open in the pocket.
It wasn't. It wasn't
a perfect.
It was a little outside, but that's a ball he catches 95% of the time.
Was it Campbell's fault that a cornerback that was on the streets in Week 10 had a ball bounce off of his face mask, and a San Francisco player, Ayuk, made a phenomenal catch on a bomb?
Is it Campbell's fault that we didn't wrap up and tackle any of their players
numerous times and let Purdy slip the pocket?
Had Purdy for sacks a few times and just didn't bring him down.
Is it Campbell's fault that Amon-Ra dropped the pass that Laporta, although his was a little bit of a tough catch because it got knocked away?
Reynolds
Laporta,
dropped another one. Gibbs
Reynolds
fumbled.
dropped the key one up 3rd down. Gibbs fumbled, went the wrong way. J-Mo stopped short and didn't catch the ball on the flea flicker. That would have been a huge momentum shift. My point is, no, those are not Campbell's fault. Those are execution faults. So stop with the shtick of blaming Campbell for not taking points and therefore losing the Lions.
Our kicker was not good.
I have 2 points. I wasn't even worried about that. I would take him over Moody. My 2 points on Campbell is, if you are truly a Lions fan, you might be disappointed that they didn't get it and kind of woulda, shoulda, coulda, and say 3 points in hindsight. Hindsight is 2020, boys, and girls. I don't want your hindsight. The Lions got to where they are because Dan Campbell coaches like that every damn game. He did it against the Cowboys on the 2-point conversions. He did it on fake punts at times in games. He did it on fake field goals. He did it on this. He did it on that. You cannot, I said this a few weeks ago after that Dallas game, you cannot both love him when he does it and hate him when it fails at the same time. If you do, and if you question it, I'm sorry, you're not a true Lions fan. Ask Ryan. I was not mad that the Lions went for those 4th downs. I was actually surprised they didn't.
Mad?
I wasn't surprised that they didn't go for it on 4th down at the end of the first half.
This is where I interject. That's the only thing I question.
That was the outlier.
They should have, because I heard it on the radio multiple times. They said, I think if the Lions should have, if Campbell's would go for it, they score there,
demoralized.
They would have laid down.
Well, and here's the thing too about that is I don't remember if it was that drive when they were putting Sewell in motion and Sewell was playing tight end, or was that in the 3rd quarter? I didn't know. I think that was the 2nd quarter.
I don't remember.
That would have been a perfect play to run him out and sneak him out and get him a pass. The Lions took the points there. I didn't have any qualms about it at the time. That's the only time he went out of character. So I'm sorry for anybody, friends included, who are pissed that the Lions didn't take the points and say you should have taken the points. I say you're not a Lions fan because you're either in on Dan Campbell or you're out on Dan Campbell. And if you're in on Dan Campbell, I don't care if it's the playoffs. I don't care if it's for a chance to breathe air on Mars. It doesn't matter. You don't change who you are as a coach. I will also say this. Any media that does the same, do your effing homework. You are just repeating a narrative that, he should have, he could have, he would have. So here, I'll give you a shoulda, coulda, woulda. Reynolds makes that catch. The Lions probably take 3 more minutes off the clock. They probably
get a field
score
goal at least.
They would have get a field goal at least, and they probably score to go up 3 touchdowns. Right? They would have been up 3 scores again and taken more time off the clock. every time you go for that, he is between the 40s. He is a go for it guy. Whether you like that or not is inconsequential. It's about whether you accept that as a Lions fan. And if you cannot, I will go to my grave with this. You cannot be a Dan Campbell fan. I'm not saying you can't be a Lions fan, but if you can't be a Dan Campbell as the savior and have yeah buts, you either take it or you leave it, and you understand the risks of going for it and you embrace that. And that's why his guys love him.
Yeah, no one has command of his team like him. No one.
I mean, they fought hard enough to come back when they had done nothing in the second half, and they got it within. Now they didn't have the timeout to be able to pull it off, but they gave themselves even at the end of.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. What coach in the history of Detroit sports has created this much buzz for his team, for national media, for just sports fans in general? What? Chuck Daly,
Scotty Bowman, Sparky Anderson. That's it.
That's it.
Maybe Jim Smokes Leland, but not,
yeah. I mean, and here's the thing.
But in terms of total endearment, I mean, Scotty Bowman did it with the Red Wings because he had a storied past of winning NHL Stanley Cups, and he did it with the Red Wings too. Chuck Daly did it because he built the Bad Boys, and they beat up the Celtics in a time when it was the Celtics-Lakers NBA. So he gets some credit for that. Smokes did it because he's the last person to win, or not Smokes. Sparky Anderson was the last person to win the World Series in Detroit in 1984. But nobody has embraced the grit and the city of Detroit, and really the state of Michigan, the blue collarness, like Dan Campbell. And again, you don't have to like it. You can be mad and disappointed that they lost by 3 points and play the shoulda, coulda, woulda game, but I will contend you are not a true Lions fan if you do that, but that you didn't do it when they won a game because of it.
Well, I guarantee you, if we had kicked the field goal and lost, they would have said, he's soft.
Should have gone for it. Yeah. Right. Yep. Again, if anything, like Ryan said, the outlier was probably should have gone for it. And he said he would have if he was a little bit closer. I think he was thinking run there. That's why it's harder to pass in the zone. So, again, I wasn't mad that they kicked it, but I kind of thought to myself, that's out of character for him. And honestly, had they not gotten it and they still would have gone in 21-7, I don't know that it would have made a big difference in the second half. It would have been a bigger difference, like you said, though, if it was 28-7.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The Lions are going to use this as motivation. Do they have a really hard schedule next year? Yeah, they won the division. That's what you get for winning division.
And the NFC North,
you up your
all of a sudden is not like the Lions for years to come, because Jordan Love, if he stays on his trajectory,
Vikings are going to be good.
The Packers were young. If the Vikings keep Cousins, they've got talent. The Bears came on late. Hey, bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah,
all you need to do is get in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
you can win 9 to 10
and the
games
Lions
and get in the
core,
playoffs.
like what do the Lions have free agent wise? They probably don't have a whole
Big
lot of guys.
free agents. Jonah Jackson and Graham Glasgow are the only really huge ones, and I think you can re-sign Jonah Jackson was hurt a lot this season. We can talk about it more.
Re-sign one or the other.
Josh Reynolds, do we want
Then it's a matter of you go get a receiver later in the NFL draft. You go get some defensive back help. You get pass rush help because clearly Hutchinson, as good as he is, he takes too much time. He doesn't take plays off in terms of he plays. He needs support.
He needs another bookend.
And he needs to learn discipline. But he needs a bookend. I thought the tackles were better, but you could always use another tackle. Corners, definitely. Secondary, but they're not that far off. And they're some of their best players this year were guys they got in the draft this year.
Yeah.
Campbell, Gibbs, Laporta,
Branch.
I mean, those are 4 stud players that are locked into rookie contracts for a little while, right? You're gonna have to dabble. You may, maybe you pull a trade here. They pulled some trades last year. Like, what are they doing? And then you see, they let Jamal Williams go and they got David Montgomery.
Yeah, people were mad.
How'd that work out?
Jamal Williams had 1 touchdown in 17 games.
And then you had between Montgomery and
2,000-yard backs,
first time in NFL history,
10 touchdowns plus a piece.
Yeah.
The future's bright in Detroit. We're not going anywhere this window of 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I get it. It's hard. You can't repeat it. Like Dauber and I were talking about this too. Like injuries, schedule. Lots of things factor in, of course, and that's why every year is what it is. There's a little bit of luck, but the core is intact. The thirst and the hunger is going to be there from losing. I think there's something to that. Like I almost feel like, if they had won and lost the Super Bowl, I think there would be less hunger for next year than there is this. Now, would I have liked to have gone to the Super Bowl even if the Lions lost? Well, of course. I wouldn't want to lose to the Chiefs, but whatever. Of course I would like that. So that would have been Lions' first Super Bowl. But I think arguably there will be even more hunger to get back and make it over the hump, because they got to the hump of the division title this year. They got to the hump of getting back to the NFC Championship game. The next hump is the Super Bowl. And whether it happens next year, I think they're going to be in contention for it. And I think they'll be just fine. So
yeah, I agree. I got nothing else football-wise.
Nope, I'm good too.
Just move to our final spot. I'm not final spot, sprint. I heard this on a podcast the other day. Would you? They're like, I think they just said something like that. Saban Belichick coach cast will go hard. If they had that, would you watch it? It's the Manning cast. It would be the coach cast with Nick Saban and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting.
Sick.
I think ex-coaches make great, especially in basketball. I think they make great commentators. I thought Bobby Knight was awesome when he did it. I'm trying to think of in the NFL, you got mostly like quarterbacks and wide receivers. It seems like you don't. I mean, you get more like studio guys like Jimmy Jackson and whatever, or Cower and
John Madden was
whatever.
Good, right?
John Madden was really good. Yeah, I would. I mean, it would be interesting for a different reason. Yeah,
I'd watch it. Are you in favor of a Live versus PGA Tour Ryder Cup style event?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I think they should do it. That'd be.
But it gives credit and sunshine to the Live, and I just kind of want it to die a slow death with those bloodbath sport washing bastards.
Fresh, but Lions' biggest position of need heading into 24-25.
I mean, for me, most immediately, I think it's probably corner help. Honestly, I think they need a shutdown corner. I think they're okay.
Sutton could be your number
Gardner
2.
Johnson and Kirby Joseph, I think, is it Joseph 30 or Jacobs?
31's safe. Yeah, 31.
I think they're pretty good at safety. I mean, I think they could shore up there for sure, but I think you just need a lockdown corner.
Yeah. How about a random one? Most underrated breakfast item.
Oh man, most underrated breakfast item. I'm gonna go with a good toast and jam. I think people always go eggs, bacon. They go omelet. They go pancakes.
The Herman's Boy / Jody's pecan roll.
You're not lying about that. I can't really have those with the Type 2, but those are.
Once in a blue
can't
moon.
eat anything else all day.
All right, that is the pod for the week. Appreciate all the support. Let us know what questions you have. We can do a Super Bowl section next week. Do more in-depth dive into the game. Go green tonight. Beat the losers down the road.
Skunk monkeys, arrogant asses, whatever you want to call
Bastards.
it. Meanwhile, I'm not really sure who said this, but I thought it was fitting with our NFL segment. If you can't accept losing, you can't win.